Thornton died last month. You probably don't know who that is, but the decision George Thornton made on November 12th of 1970 is indirectly responsible for Lloyd Smith winning the 2011 District 9 Humorous Speech Contest. For project number 6, vocal variety from the communication manual, Lloyd Smith will present a revised version of that winning speech. Please help me welcome Lloyd Smith and Dar Shibol Blows.
Don't you love it when your plans work out? There's really nothing like that warm glow of satisfaction you get when all of your hard work pays off. However, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, look, we're all friends here, so we can be honest with one another. Don't you sometimes get a similar warm glow when someone else's plan does not work out? Especially when their failure is public and spectacular? I'll admit that I do. And my personal poster child for public spectacular failure is George Thornton. Let's take a look at the longest day of George Thornton's life, November 12, 1970. The early morning beach walkers near Florence, Oregon, a little resort town about 50 miles south of Seaside, that morning saw that the tide had brought in the remains of a 45-foot-long, 8-ton dead whale. As you can imagine, it attracted a lot of attention. However, that whale was very dead, emphatically dead, when it washed ashore. And everyone quickly realized that the new tourist attraction was actually a tourist repellent. In Oregon, the beaches are public right-of-way, and so the responsibility for dealing with the whale fell to the Oregon Department of Transportation. The DOT crew that reported to the scene was supervised by George Thornton, the deputy area supervisor. George's first thought was to call in a bulldozer, dig a trench in the sand, shove the whale in, and cover it up. But when the locals found out what he was thinking of doing, they all said, that's not going to work. The waves and the tide will wash the sand away, and then we'll be worse off than we are right now because there won't be any way to get the whale up out of the hole. Well, that made sense to George, so he gave it a little more thought. And then it struck him. What does the DOT do when something really big, like a giant boulder or a huge tree, blocks a road? They break it apart and deal with the pieces. That's why George ordered some dynamite. 1,000 pounds of dynamite. After the crowd was pushed back a safe distance, the DOT crew placed the dynamite to the leeward side of the whale. The plan was simplicity itself. The explosion would blow the whale apart and all the pieces would fly out into the ocean. The little bits that were left over would be quickly taken care of by the seagulls and the crabs. Now let's see, a dead whale and 1,000 pounds of dynamite. What could possibly go wrong? That question was answered when George pushed in the plunger on the detonator box. There was a thundering, tremendous, ground-shaking explosion, and an incredible geyser of debris erupted into the air. You know that old saying, what goes up must come down? Yep, for the next 90 seconds, it rained a horrifying mixture of pulverized, stinking whale goo, beach sand, and baseball-sized chunks of blubber. Everyone there was liberally splattered with foul-smelling slime. Luckily, no one got hit by any of the falling blubber. That was a good thing because some of the pieces were a lot bigger than baseballs. The biggest was a 300-pound slab that sailed majestically over the crowd and landed in a parking lot a quarter-mile back to the beach, where it crushed in the roof of Walter Umenhofer's brand new Cadillac DeVille. When Walter saw the wreckage, he said, State Farm is never going to believe this. But you know what? State Farm did believe it. And that's because this entire spectacle was captured on videotape by a news crew from a Portland TV station. A month later, the story was voted Oregon's outstanding television news story of the year. And today, if you Google Oregon exploding whale, you can see the actual original video of what happened. But the glory of being the Oregon's top TV news story of the year was still far into the future. Let's get back to the beach on just after the explosion. There George stands, his ears ringing from the blast, whale slime dripping off of his hat brim, looking at what was probably one of the most discouraging sights of his life. There on the beach, 2/3 of the whale sat completely untouched by the explosion. As George's hearing returned, he began to hear the seagulls. Attracted by the perfume of putrefying dead whale, an estimated 50,000 squawking, flapping, pooping seagulls arrived on the scene. That's when everyone lost nerve and fled the beach. Later that afternoon, George and the DOT crew returned to the beach. George ordered a bulldozer up. They dug a trench in the sand, shoved in the remains of the whale, and covered it up. The waves and the tides never uncovered it. Now, you might think that the remains of George's career would be buried in that hole along with the dead whale, but you'd be wrong about that. After a distinguished 37-year career with the Oregon DOT, George retired as the operations director for Western Oregon. However, after November 12, 1970, whenever he was introduced to someone new, their invariable reply was, "Oh, you're the guy with the whale." Yes, he was.